This
Which tool will
conference will
do
now be
deployment?
recorded.
Sorry, can you repeat it?
So deployment is there, right? So with which
Yeah.
tool we will do the deployment actually? Any Jenkins Hudson tool like that?
No need. So for MuleSoft, I have explained, right? There will be a cloud hub, like it will have one cloud platform, Anypoint Platform. So in that platform, we can go and deploy our Mule projects.
Okay. So for that deployment process, which tool we will use directly? We'll go with Anypoint only.
Yeah, we can. There
Or
are
how we will
multiple
deploy?
ways. Like we can discuss in later classes. Like we can deploy
Okay.
our entire project. We can export the project like that. No need of any other tool.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Okay. Thank you.
Hello, Kirti, continue the class.
Okay. So today our agenda is, first we have to understand so I have explained what is REST and what are the methods and how we are getting the data, how we will send the request body, how the response will be coming, and what are the types of data we'll send and all, right? So today we'll understand what are the components of REST URL, because we are going to build a sample Mule project today, for which we need to understand the components of that URL. And we are going to run the sample project, and I will be showing you how to debug the code. So not in very in a deep way, but I will explain you like how to debug it, how to run the project, and what are the different types of flows. So there are flows, subflow, private flow, what is this, and when to use these types of flows. So we'll be going all these things today. So let's go to this first one, REST URL. So I have explained. So let's come to the first thing is like, what are the mostly used systems? So until now we have discussed. So I have given you a few examples like databases. We will get data from databases, or Salesforce, like that. So mainly used systems are these systems. Like first one is web services. So web services means there can be two types I have explained, right? REST or SOAP web services. And JMS is a queue. So we can publish the data to JMS, we can subscribe the data from JMS, we can see in later classes. And SFTP means secure file transfer protocol. So SFTP or FTP, so we can keep the files in a secure position and we can get the files from there, we can process those files. And databases, so you know databases, right? And files like from the local drive. So from my local drive I can retrieve the files, I can post the files, and I can update the existing files. And some system-based connectors. Let's say our client will be having some systems like Salesforce, Oracle, NetSuite, SAP, something like that. So all the system-based connectors. So mostly 95% we will be using only these system endpoints. There are nothing like other some system endpoints. So any endpoints may client give, we will be using among these system endpoints only. So we'll see detailedly in the next classes, so how to use each connector and how to utilize them. So this is just a briefing about what are the most systems and endpoints we will use. So let's say our first point is REST endpoint. So now today we are going to expose one our sample Mule. This is very basic sample Mule application as a REST endpoint. So REST endpoint, so it will contain URLs. So I have explained, right? So here some examples are this one. So let's take this example.
Hello Kirti, can you just increase your screen?
Sure.
Yeah.
Is it okay now?
Yeah, now it's fine. Thank you.
Okay. So let's take this example. So here we have seen, this is the example. So what does this URL contain? So we are just seeing this URL. So what are these components? So first one here is our protocol, HTTP protocol, until this colon. So it can be HTTP or HTTPS. So as I've explained in the previous class, HTTP means it doesn't contain any security, whereas HTTPS contains the security. It will provide the security. Okay, and then coming to our host and port. So basically when we see like here we have request.in. So this is the domain name. So let's say some example Stack Overflow or Facebook. So those are the domain names. So we have to purchase those domain names. So as of now for development, we will not do anything like that. In coming to real-time projects, client will give us some host. Okay, while development, we will use local host. For our testing and for our development, everything we'll be using localhost. But coming to the deployment and using of this one, the host, so this domain, client will provide us what we have to use. So client will purchase the domain and he will give us. And coming to port, so here they don't have any port, but we can have a port. So for HTTP, it will be by default 8081. And it will have a base path and subpath. So here our base path is API and subpath is register. So in the same way, so this is the main structure of a REST endpoint. Okay, we'll have a HTTP protocol and we'll have a host. So for MuleSoft, not in just MuleSoft, but for any kind of API development in any other tool. So basically, in a default way, it will be localhost, and the port will be for HTTP. It will be 8081. And base path, we can keep anything. Let's say example, I want to keep a base path API, employee API, and subpath, I have add employee. So how does my URL look? It will look something like this. http:// or host is localhost. Localhost, port is 8081 / what is my base path? This is my base path. And what is my subpath? So we can have multiple subpaths as well. We'll have only one base path. In this, you can have multiple subpaths like add employee / you can do some more if you have any other functionalities. So you can give like this, something like update employee. So this subpath, it should be semantically correct. When I say semantically correct, it should be like what you are doing operation. So that should represent the subpath. So if you see here in the example which we have used, what it is doing API. So API is our base path. And what is register? It is registering. So if you remember, we have done something like in this register, we are giving some email and password. So what is the basic functionality of this one? It is registering this particular email ID and password. So that's why they have given register. So this word register is semantically correct. So while developing APIs, we have to keep in mind that whatever the base path and subpath we are giving, it should be semantically correct. Okay. Any doubts until here?
Yeah, after HTTP you told, right? HTTP is the
Yeah.
protocol and request.in is what actually? Now, what
So this is our host.
technically we can do?
Yeah, this is a host.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So something like this. Okay, these are just example I am giving. And coming to HTTP status codes. So if you see here, when we are giving some body and when we are we are giving something like request body, we are getting some response. And if you see here, the status is 200 OK. So what does this means is whenever a REST API is invoked, it will return out some response codes. Response codes will generally, it is like indicator for us whether it is created or not, whether it is successful or not. So we have many response codes. It will 200 OK means okay, it is successful. Suppose if I give empty here, it says something like it will give some error here, missing password. What is the type here? Response type 400 bad request, because this is a bad request, we are not sending any field here. So we have multiple, like if it all is comes as 500, right? 500 means something went wrong, maybe some internal server error or something like that. What does it represent? So we have many status codes. Mostly we'll be using 200, 201. 201 means for the creation of the data is successful. 500 means it is internal error or server error, something like that. So this in this website we have all the list of HTTP response codes. So right now you can just keep this in mind, because in later classes we have to set from our MuleSoft. So we are developing REST APIs. So in that case we have to also take care of the response codes. From the MuleSoft development we have to set the HTTP response codes. So we can see in the later classes, but this is just for your information that these are the response codes. We have to take care of these response codes while developing our REST APIs. So here see we have multiple Mostly we'll be using few only, like 200 okay, 201 created, and it is based on basically the use cases. Let's say suppose we are creating a user in Salesforce. At that time, instead of if it is successful, you can say 201 created instead of 200 okay, and something like that. So you can just review this one, just keep it in mind. These are all the codes you have, and we can use all these codes. Let's say suppose the user is, even whenever we are exposing this API, this will be consumed by some client, right? So they will give like here in place of post, they will give get. So we have developed only code for post, but they are trying to do it with get. So what will they get? They have to get like method not allowed or method not found, something like that, 405, something like that. Okay, these are all the codes. Just keep it for your reference. I'm pinging in this chat box. Okay, any doubts until here?
No, Kirti, for me.
Yeah, please interrupt
No.
me. Feel free to interrupt me whenever you are stuck in anywhere. Okay, so let's go to our development. So I have shown you like how to create the Mule project. So let's say this is our sample Hello World project. Hello World. So here in this project, just I'm giving a brief about for whoever is the new student in this class. Like whenever we are creating a Mule project, we'll have Mule Flows, like it will be automatically created. We can go and work in this XML file. So this is a .xml file. If you want to create multiple XML files, you can also create here. And for property files and for APIs, we can use SRC main resource file. Suppose if you want to use a file from this project, you can create a new file here and you can use it from here. And rest are all are not necessary for our development actually. These are all automatically created when a Mule project is created. So let's go. So if you know, the first step is for creation of REST API. We have to drop a listener here. So if you drop a listener here, there will be an automatically a flow created, sample hello world flow. So this name is created from our main project name itself. So listener, whenever we keep a listener, so for REST API, right? So here this we are invoking REST API. Let's consider this REST API. So whenever we are hitting this API, there should be a listener which listens to it, so which captures that request. So for that we have to keep a listener. So here just if I delete this one, so here if you can see, there is a source and process. What we have to keep in source is we have to keep a listener here. Okay, so we are saying that our flow will be triggered whenever this listener is triggered. So for this we have to configure. So there are two components here. We can go and create a connection here. So how to create? So basically defaultly it will come like our protocol is HTTP default and all so this is our host. So I have told you, right, local host, or this is, there are two default host. You can use anything. So basically I prefer local host and the port is 8081. It is default. So base API, let's say our base API is for our understanding, let's keep base API itself. Base API. Okay. Okay. And our sub API, let's keep sub API for our understanding. So when you are doing in a client project, you have to do it in a semantically way. So what is a base API? Like if you are creating an orders, right? You can keep base path as orders, and the operation, what you are doing, you're trying to do, you are creating. So in sub API path, you can keep create here, something like that. Okay, so now our listener is configured, and you can for saving, just you can do control S here. It will be saved automatically. And let's say now I want to see a logger, like whatever we can just simply in the console. So when we run it, it will be appeared in the console. So let's say this is my my first Mule project. Welcome. So this have to be printed in the console. Okay, I have saved it, and we can run it in the two ways. Like we can go here and we can select this one, run as Mule application, or simply you can go right click here and run the Mule project. So whenever we say run it, it will build some of the files which are necessary for running it. So it will take few seconds to run. We have to wait. Yeah, we will know whenever it is deployed. So it will come as status deployed here. So whenever it says deployed, then it means it is ready to run. So now let's test this API. So how to test this API? We have to build our URL. So let's take this example. We have HTTP. We have given HTTP protocol and localhost and we have given our port 8081. And what is our base path? Base API. And what is our subpath? Sub API. So you can simply test it in Postman, or simply you can test it in, we are not giving anything here, right, in body or something until now. So you can simply say in Google Chrome also. So now, so it is displaying nothing because we are not setting any response here. We simply just invoked it. So it is, how to know this is triggered or not? See here. My Mule first project welcome. So I have given in this here, right, logger. So it is printing in the console. In this way we can know this is triggered. Whenever this is triggered, this will come here. Any doubts until here?
Yeah, that path declaration, can you show me again, listener, in the listener?
Yeah, sure. You can simply come here, click one add button, and to configure the already existing one, I'm clicking the configuration. So here the protocol is HTTP. It will be default. Localhost is it is a default localhost. So you can select 000 also. So if in case you want to keep 0000, let's keep this one now and test it. Okay. Port is 8081. Base path is base API. For our understanding, I have just kept it. Okay. Okay. So now we have to save it. So whenever we save it, it will automatically build again. So again, it will start building. See, it will come again. So if it comes like this, it means that it is deployed it again. No need to stop it. I mean, if at all you want to be sure, you can just stop it, the execution. You can stop this execution like this. You can stop, terminate, and you can run it again. But even if in middle, if there is only small change and you just want to save it, and instead of running it again, it will automatically deploy. So now, since we have changed the listener, the local host, what we have to give here? Instead of local host, we have to give 0000. Sometimes that 00 will not work. That's why we have to just use the local host. So try using localhost, because sometimes I have observed in Mule 4 that 00 will not work as expected. That's why default one, everyone will use localhost. Try using this one. That's all. So it is triggered now. If you see here, my first Mule project welcome. Clear until now? Okay, so if at all you want some response to be printed, like, and there is one more thing to be considered here. So if you see, I did not configure any type here. What is the type here? So we can configure it here, like responses. We can configure all this one, but since this is our just so here we have status code and all. So since this is our first one, let's just ignore that one. We can configure it in later classes, but let's just understand what are the flows and what are the types of flows we can understand. Any doubts until
And
here?
yeah, when it comes to method, we did not give any method, right? Get or put or what, anything?
No, we did not give any method. It will basically be a post method in default.
Okay. Where that option will be there in this?
In configuration, we can, yeah, let me just.
Oh.
Data code headers. There will be one option. Allowed methods, right? Here you can type post or get whatever you want to give. So let's try this one in our post methods. Okay. Now I have saved it. It is redeploying again. It is building the path. Now it is okay. Let's try this our API in Postman. And post. That's all. Nothing to be done here. We are not giving any body or something. So automatically it gives 200 okay because it is executed successfully. It is triggered successfully, right? Without any error. That's why it gave us 200 okay. My first Mule project, welcome. Now if you try to give get, it say, so these are the default methods which will be understood by MuleSoft itself, and not only MuleSoft, any API. So 405 method not allowed because we don't have any get method here. We did not configure any listener which contains get, and with all these configurations with base API, sub API, we don't have method, right? That's why it is giving 405 method not allowed. Okay. Yeah. So
Okay,
now.
okay.
Now, if you want to send some responses, let's say if it is post, and now if you want to give some responses, like here in the response you are getting nothing, right? For that you can do set payload. So set payload will automatically. Payload means generally you know the basic understanding of payload, right? So it will set the body, it will set the context. So now if you say set payload, I want to give API. Or so if just ignore the value and all here. So now I want to give static value. If at all you want to give static value, you should do this one. And if at all you want to use some variable, some other flow, something like some other values, you have to give this function. Okay. So now I'm just giving the static value like API triggered. It will be in our response. That's all. So I'm saving it again. It will be redeployed. Yes. So let's hit it now. API triggered. Okay. So this is our basic first simple MuleSoft project. So you can simply try it out on your own if you have been already installed Anypoint Studio. I think most of you has installed it. So simply try it out on your own. Just play around here. What are the types you can give and all. And let's see now. There are few things like here we have understood REST URL and building sample project. So we have seen running. So I will show you how to debug and all. So before that, let's just understand what are the flows, subflows, and private flows. So here, if you see, this is a flow. So if you see here, what is that? If you want to understand anything about these components, right, you can simply click on it and go to help, and it will simply give small description like what is this one. So this is a flow. So I mean, it will just give you some understanding, and even if you want to see how to configure this one, so it will give you some links. So if you click on this one, it will automatically redirect to MuleSoft documentation. Okay, so now this is a flow. So what is a flow means? It will have a event source. So here we have a source. So if you see, if I drag a, so I mean, whenever we have created one flow, right? When we have an XML file and we have created one listener here. So whenever there is in the place of source, whenever that we are giving an event here. So here our event is listener. So whenever it is triggered, it is coming, right? So that is called as flow. So what is a subflow means? Here you can go and search subflow. It will come. So what is a subflow means? It will not have any source here. This subflow has to be invoked from some other flows itself. So how to invoke this one? Let's see. For invoking other subflows or flows, we have a component called flow reference. So let's see here. In this flow reference, I can simply, suppose if you want to rename this one sample subflow, instead of that one, we'll say subflow 1. Okay, I will just save it. And here in flow reference, you want to invoke this flow subflow. So in here, flow, give the flow name. It will automatically come subflow 1. Okay, in this subflow, and you want to see whether it is getting invoked or not. So for that purpose, I will just keep here a logger saying that subflow 1 is triggered log. Okay. So first step flow, how the flow will happen is whenever this is triggered, it will come to first logger, it will say welcome. Then it will go to this flow reference. What does this flow reference point to? It will point to subflow 1. It will come here, it will print this logger, and then again it will set the payload and it will give us this response. So let me just show you how we have to debug. So whenever if you want to if you want to stop this project, this execution until here, and you want to see step by step, you can simply click on add breakpoint here. If you don't add any breakpoints, it will simply execute as in while running. So I will just stop project now because now it is in run state. So if you want to do in debug state, you have to stop it and you have to click on debug project here. Okay, let's see. So debugging also will take the same amount of time. So it will just similarly execute and build all the build files. The only difference is we can allow step-by-step execution. So if it will pop out like we have to, the one new perspective will be open. So you can just click on OK here. For debugging also we will get deployed. Okay. Now to trigger this one, what we have to do? We have to click this one. We have to send. Whenever we have to send, so see, it came until here. It did not run for further things. It just stopped here. So if I here in this view, Mule debugger view, if this is the next one. So this is the next step. Click on next step and see here in the console what it is showing. My first Mule project, welcome. Click on next step. It went to subflow. So here our next step is flow reference. So in flow reference, it came to subflow. Click on next. What does it print? Subflow 1 is triggered log. And after printing that log, it directly came to the next step after flow reference, set payload. That's all. It completed. See here your response, API triggered. Okay. So this is how we have to invoke the subflows, and so what is the main difference is here we won't have any event source and we don't have any error handling. So here if you see for the flow to come back to normal view, right, here you will be having here you will be having a Mule view. So you can just click on Mule view, you can go back to your normal view. So if here you can see error handling placeholder for this. Okay, so you just ignore for now what is error handling and how to do the error handling and all. For now we can see it in further classes, but the main difference is for the flow you'll have error handling and an event source, but for subflow you'll not have those. You'll simply have the components to use. Okay, and let's see what are the variables or what are the variables and what are the payloads. So let's see here. Suppose in subflow I want to set the payload. Okay, here I will set the payload. After logging, I'm setting the payload as my payload. It will be subflow payload. Okay, and after subflow payload, for our reference, I am keeping a log saying that this will be our setting after payload or log after payload. I'm giving this payload. So this expression and all. So here you can say payload. If you want to print the payload, so I'm setting the payload and I'm printing this payload in the logger. Okay. So let's see now what happens. What will happen? It will trigger it from here. It will print the log, first log, and then it will be just saying this subflow 1 is triggered log, and then we are setting the payload. So after setting the payload, this payload scope is until here only. After this one, suppose if this set payload is not there here, it will give you the response which is set here. But since it is we are setting the payload in the main flow, so this is our main flow. The ultimate outcome from our API will be this payload. Okay, let's see here. Yes. Go step by step to understand what's happening here. My first Mule project, welcome. Click on next. Subflow 1 is triggered log. We are setting the payload. To see the payload, I have kept a logger here. Log after payload, sub payload. Here to see what is the payload here. Sub payload. Okay. Since we are setting the payload, so it will come here. Until now, what are our payloads? You can see here. So in this Mule debugger, just scroll down here. So it says payload is sub payload. But since we are setting the payload again, there is some voice disturbance. Okay. Is it okay now, Naveen?
No, it's not audible actually.
Okay. Is this the same problem with others also?
No, we are fine with this. We are fine. We are able to hear.
Okay. Your voice is breaking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me just try to keep the headphones on. Give me a second. Hello.
Yeah, keep
Yeah, Kirti, we can hear you.
now not able to hear anything. Are you speaking anything?
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, I
Hello.
able
Can
to
you
hear
hear me?
now. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, now
So
I'm able to hear.
okay. So until now, until this shape, our payload is sub payload. But after this one, our payload will be whatever the payload we are setting, API triggered. Okay. So let's see what is the next step. That's all. API triggered. Now, if you want to set the payload from subflow itself, just don't keep a set payload here. So I'm just removing it here and saving it. So this is all for understanding of scope. Okay, what is the scope of the payload in subflow and a flow? Okay, now I'll trigger it again.
So, sorry, Kirti, sorry to interrupt. Setting a
Okay.
payload is nothing but setting up the response only, right?
Yeah. Whenever we say set the payload, right? So after this, so this is our flow. Okay, this is our main flow. So these are only two steps we are doing. So after this, if we do a set payload, so in Mule, when we are setting the payload, it means we are setting the response for an API or response for the next step. So that means setting the payload. If at all it doesn't have any next step, then it will be our response. If at all it has some next step, that will be the request for that next step.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So let's see here. I'm logging it. Let's see here. Subflow is triggered. Then what is the next step? It is setting the payload. I'm printing the payload. Log after payload subpayload. Okay. That's all. Since we do not have anything here, it stopped the execution. See what is the sub payload. This is our response. Okay. So that means whatever the payload which we are setting in subflow, that can be used in our main flow as well. It will be the same as our variables also. So let me create one variable here. So for variable, you can say simply set variable. Here I'm setting a variable. This is my main variable because it is in main flow, and the value is 1, 2, 3. Okay, and after this one I want to use this variable in my subflow. So here in the logger I will say log after payload. I am setting the payload, and also I am giving my vars dot, what is my variable name, main dot variable. Or just forget about variables, you will be confused by today. So let's just understand the scope of flow and subflow and what are the difference, and there are many things to cover today. We'll cover the variables from tomorrow class. Okay, and so this is the flow and subflow. And coming to subflows, there are types of, so this now what we are doing is we are doing a synchronous way. So when I say synchronous way, we are waiting for the execution of this subflow. Okay, how the flow is going from listener logger, it is coming to logger, it is coming to flow reference, and after flow reference these all three steps are happening. So let's say here I'm giving a logger again here. This is my end logger. Okay, end logger. So how the flow is happening? It is happening step by step. Suppose if you want this to happen not in a step by step way, you can do it in asynchronous way. When I say asynchronous way, what does asynchronous means? It will run in multiple threads. So for that one, you can keep async block here. Okay, I'm keeping an asynchronous block, and I'm keeping this flow in this asynchronous block. So now let's see what will it happen. I'm saving it, and it is debugging. It will run again. Okay. So now I'm hitting it again. It will come to this first shape as normally. It will go here. So simply it came after this one. So what is the meaning of this one is one thread came here, and the next step, if I click next step, the second thread will go here. Okay, that's all. So for if we run in this asynchronous way, we are unsure that how this flow will go. Since it went for in the asynchronous way, we are not sure that whether it will go in the what will be the first step taken, whether it will go for flow reference first or whether it will go for this logger first. So since it went to logger first, it did not give response anything. It simply gave logger. So if you see logger here, how this went, my first mule project, this one logger, and end logger. That's all. It came to end logger. After that one, the second thread came here and it went to this one. Subflow 1 is triggered, log after payload, sub payload. Okay, so when do we use this synchronous and asynchronous is irrespective of the response. Suppose if you don't want to give any response to the API, but simply you are doing multiple operations. Let's say you have multiple things like updating an employee, updating his department number. So you have multiple operations to do, and you don't have to give any response to the API. So in that case, what you can do is you can keep an asynchronous block here, and you can keep all the steps which can happen in asynchronous way, and it will be happening irrespective of what is this flow. It will happen in asynchronous way based on the threads. Okay, so now I have just kept only one. So it is happening in two. I have kept one asynchronous block. So one thread will go in this asynchronous sync, and the other thread will go in normal flow. There are only two threads now. Okay, any doubts here? Okay, so this is flow and subflow. So what is flow, subflow, and what is the difference between synchronous and asynchronous? Let's go to private flow. So what is a private flow means? It is simply as this our main flow. So this is our main flow, but the only difference is you will create a flow like this, and you can just rename it my private flow. Here also we'll have a source and process. Basically, in suppose let's say you have 10 to 20 shapes here. and it will be very difficult for the readability that what will happen and what will, it is not a good idea and it is not a good coding standard to keep multiple shapes in a single flow. So for that you can divide that entire flow into different subflows. I mean, when I say different subflows, you can keep subflow or different private flows. So in this private flow, you will not have any source, but you will have all the shapes and error handling. So everything will be same as this main flow. The only difference is you will not have any source. You should not keep any source here. Simply you have to keep all the shapes. So let's say after this asynchronous one, I want to keep a flow reference. And I want to call my private flow. Okay. In my private flow, I want to keep a logger here and say private flow triggered. Okay, I'm saving it. So, and it is also a good practice to name all the shapes. So whenever we are developing something, right, for our readability understanding. So if I say simply like this, by seeing, we cannot understand what we are calling. What is this flow reference and what is this flow reference until and unless we have to go here and we have to do a right click and we have to go to reference flow. So it is, or we have to, the main aim is we have to understand how to build the flow and we have to do in a right way. So simply when you are doing a flow reference, give what are you referring to, subflow here. Okay, all this is all coming, this all comes under coding standards. So this is very important, like this. And somebody will say in logger, what is this logger? So basically this is for our understanding, that's why I'm keeping this many loggers. But generally in coding for in a main project, in the client project, the loggers are kept wherever they are necessary only. You have to just understand that simply you cannot simply keep multiple loggers in a single project. Okay, and there are some coding standards like you cannot keep entire payload in our logger. Let's say if I keep suppose you are getting some request, like you're getting some customer details or his payroll details. So if you keep everything in the body and you are logging it in this logger, so it will be visible by whoever it is running, right? So that is confidential information. Whatever we are getting in the API body, that is confidential, and you should not print the entire payload in our loggers. That is also one standard, coding standard. So now I have a logger here. Okay, I'm just hitting it, and let me see if it is deployed or not. Yeah, it is deployed. To yes. Suppose if you don't want to see like step by step, but you want to see until the step. So suppose if you want this entire thing to happen without step by step, it will take so much of time. What you can simply do is you can click here, add breakpoint, and instead of doing step by step, you can do this one, resume. So it will happen. So all these steps are happened when you do this. Check the console here. So since it is doing in asynchronous way, I think the first thread directly came here instead of going it here. So now again it went. So next. So see here, this is an asynchronous way. To understand in better way, let's remove this asynchronous. Let's understand the flow. So simply you can say delete here by selecting the shape, or you can right click and delete, whichever is convenient to you. Okay, now I'm triggering it again. So now I don't want this to do in a step-by-step way because we have multiple steps here. I have already kept a breakpoint here. So that's why I'll just say resume. So let's see. So see, all the logs are already printed. No need of doing it single step-by-step. Now I want to see step-by-step. You can click here on next step. So it came to private flow. That's all. Private flow triggered and logger. My payload is sub payload. So this is my response because we are setting a payload here in subflow. Now, if you want to change that payload, like in the private flow, you can do that here also. Like here, if you want to do set payload in my private flow, saying that this is my, what we can say, this is a private flow response, flow payload. So this will be my payload here. It will be overwritten. So whatever you are doing, it will be in a sequence way. So it will be overwritten. Whatever the changes you are doing, it will be overwritten. Okay, I'll trigger it again. Yes. And I want to resume it until the private flow. Payload. That's all. Private flow payload. Okay, any doubts until here?
Yeah, generally when we will use private flow, sorry.
So generally it means, suppose if you are having like I have mentioned, right? So this is our main flow. From this main flow, you want to do multiple things. Like first you are going to update customers or update some orders received. Okay, so you can simply not say that you have to do multiple things. Yet you have to transform the data. You have to do multiple things. So all these things, if you keep in a single flow, you will have 20 to 30 shapes in a single flow. So instead of that, you can keep a private flow and you can call it from flow reference. And when also subflow also does the same thing. So what is the main difference is here you will not have any error handling. It will just simply be done continuously, and it will have it will not have any source also. So both basically these two are equally functional, equally in both functionality and everything is same. But the only difference is it will not have any error handling. And if suppose if you don't want to do any error handling for small subflows, so in that case you can use subflow instead of private flow. It's up to your wish. And let's say suppose you have assumed that you have only 2 to 3 shapes, so that's why I have used subflow. But later on you are keeping on increasing in this subflow only, and now you want to do any error handling here, but there is no error handling. So instead of again copying all these shapes and keeping it in a subflow, what you can simply do is Mule has given us something like try and catch. So simply you can say try catch here. So you can keep all your shapes in try catch here. And for that you can provide error handling. So in this error handling we'll see in later classes. So simply that this is for just for information.
Okay, so basically subflow and private flow are mostly same, but
Mostly
with
they are
respect to error handling, it won't be having error handling
exactly
specifically.
correct. And let's say suppose in
But
private
why
flow,
to
right?
create the subflow? Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, Kirti. But why to create the subflow? Is it that mandatory to create?
Yeah. So basically I have explained, right? So if you instead of having 20 to 30 shapes in a single flow, we have to segregate into subflows. So that subflows can be a private flow or a subflow. It's up to our requirement. If you are saying that I don't want any error handling, you can simply keep it in this one. It is in subflow. You're just having few shapes and you don't want that to be handled. The error should not be handled in that way. You can keep it in subflow. Or otherwise you can keep it if you want error handling. And suppose if this let's say you are having, you can give this in another listener here. Let's say I want to keep another listener here. So this flow has to be triggered whenever there is a listener, and also whenever this is triggered from another main flow. So in that case you can go with private flow, but this is not advisable. If to keep a listener and this has to be invoked by other main process, it is not advisable because the performance will be degraded. Okay. Are you clear?
Yeah,
Yeah, clear.
this is Karthik.
One more point here, sorry.
Okay.
So subflow and private flow. So basically by default, these are synchronous, right? If we want to
Yeah.
make them as
By
asynchronous,
default,
we'll make it as asynchronous. Okay.
yes, exactly. By default, everything will be synchronous in MuleSoft. So if you want to make it asynchronous, you have to keep an asynchronous block and you have to do operations there. That's up to our wish. Like so I have told you, based on our requirement, we can do that.
Yeah, could you repeat what is the use of breakpoint?
Yeah, so what is it? This is only simply for our debugging purpose. There is no change at all. So it will not impact our code in any way. This is simply for our debugging purpose. So let's say I have closed this one. Don't save. I will do simply like this. And opening this one. And suppose if you want to run it instead of debugging, okay? I will stop this one and I will run. So while running, these breakpoints will not make any difference. It will simply run. Breakpoints are only for debugging. If you want to stop it somewhere and you have to see what's happening there, so for that you can use breakpoints. Okay.
Okay.
So even if I have kept breakpoints now, but while running, it will not make any difference. We have deployed and I'm triggering it. It will not stop. Simply it gave me response in seconds. Private flow payload. It did not stop anywhere. It simply ran. Okay. But if I want to debug it, I can stop it and I can debug it. I can see. And some more points to be noted while debugging, like I will show you. We can see what are all the things in the Mule debugger view. I will show you. It is deployed. We trigger it. It is coming to here, right? So let's say I am resuming it. So if you see here, yeah. So you can see attribute. You can just forget about attributes now. So like attributes means it will. So you are hitting a REST API, right? We are exposing it as a REST API. Whenever we are dragging and keeping listener, it means we are keeping REST API. So you can see all the attributes here, like what is the address we are giving, what is the base path we are giving. So in the request URI, you can see base API, sub API, and here you can see the method as well. So it will be useful when whenever we say if you want to use this one somewhere, like it will be dynamic. Suppose if it is hitting and you want to use this sub API somewhere in your flow, like client asks that print this sub API part, like in the sub API part, let's assume there is an operation like create, customers create. Okay, so client wants to know what is the operation being invoked while running this project. So he wants to just keep it in the logger. So instead of hard coding it, but while developing, we know because this is our create operation and this is our base API.
Hey, 1 second. There
Yeah.
is lot of noise on your side.
Okay, is this okay now?
Yeah, it's good now. Thank you.
Yeah. So instead of this one, you can use like we can use all these attributes here and all. So we can see while developing more, we can see how to use them and all. So you can see payload here. And if at all, like if you want to do any operations, okay, here we have an expression evaluator. Okay. So let's say here if you want to do, let's do evaluate, it gave 3. And if you want hash payload plus 3. I think plus doesn't work. Plus or unbalanced brackets. So yeah, we can see in the next classes. So I think there is an update here. Before it was working. Like let's see if it all payload doesn't work. Yeah, no need of brackets. I think. Yeah, sub payload 3 string concatenation. So whatever you need to try. Like suppose if you want to print here, okay, if you want to keep the logger and you want to test it out. Before just simply you can instead of trial and error method, you can do it in debug method. So whatever you are trying to print payload and you can do all the string operations here. So we have multiple transform it. So I have I think I have mentioned in the beginning sessions, like we have DataWeave transformations. We can do all the transformations and we can do manipulations of data. So all the we can see in the next classes how to do the manipulations and all. You can perform here and you can simply test it out here in the debugger, in the expression evaluator. So I would say this is the key thing which makes MuleSoft perfect compared to other tools. So the debugger is very developer friendly and very useful, because this is very simple flow. That's why we don't see any any advantages here. But while building our logical things and logical use cases, it will be very helpful for us to understand what's happening in this here, and to understand how we can do all the DataWeave transformations and operations, manipulations of data we can do here. Okay, and coming to other tools, it will be very difficult to debug. There will be any Mule debugger or something like that, expression evaluator and all. And yeah, so simply after this you can go to here for the Mule view. And I think I have already mentioned, like we can search for any connectors here, like Salesforce connector or NetSuite connector, or if you want, like suppose so there are some preloaded modules here like Salesforce and NetSuite. Suppose if you want SAP, it will not be there. So for that you have to go to add modules, and you have to do like here for ServiceNow, for scripting, so objects. So these are all the other things, other systems we can utilize. And yeah, we can see in later classes so how we can utilize them, how we can, if we can send emails also from our API. Like suppose if at all there is any error, so in exception handling we can say we can send an email. So we will see it in detail in the coming classes. Okay, anybody has any doubts until here?
No, Kirti.
Okay, so this understanding is
No doubt.
important.
No doubts, but I have a question. Is SAP module not available here?
No, because
SAP?
this is my free edition, right? So this is my
Okay.
community edition. That's why I have not. So there will be some connectors which have to be purchased from MuleSoft. So in that way,
Okay.
I mean, in that situation, what we have to do is our client will directly contact the MuleSoft vendor, and he will say, for this account we need some connectors. So in that when they add that connector to our account, right? So while logging in here, we can log in file. We can log in. Navigate, edit, Mule. So instead of that, you can simply say Anypoint Platform. So here you can, first you have to log into your account. So simply, I did not log into account anything here because this is our sample flows. So while coming to your client project, you can simply build your flows and you have to log into your account. In your account, when I say Cloud Hub account or Anypoint Platform account, for that account, client will be discussing and he will be purchasing through MuleSoft vendor, that whatever the private connectors he has, he will purchase it, then it will be available here for us.
Okay.
These are all free connectors which MuleSoft provides us for community edition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Any other questions?
No, that's it.
Okay. I think we are good for today. I mean, this is very good understanding we have to have for flow and flow reference, how to use them, because in further classes we have to create multiple flows. You can try it on your own. Whoever has installed Anypoint Studio, try it on your own and play around with this. You can see and you can try it on your own how to do this one. And if you have any doubts, you can come to me in tomorrow classes. And if whoever has not installed Anypoint Studio, please install it on your system, because to have hands-on experience is very important. By seeing, we can learn so many things, but when we try it out, we'll have many doubts and we'll see many problems.
Yeah, Kirti, I
Okay.
downloaded Postman also for client information like that. But the thing is that I'm not able to find any folders, predefined folders or pre-existing folders for practice version and all.
Free for what?
Already there will be existing folders for practice versions, right? You said in Postman.
Yes, yes. So, okay, you are saying these APIs.
Yeah.
No, I think Navin, right? Yeah. In the last classes, I have given these APIs for the free APIs. I think I have saved it somewhere here. Okay, I will share it with you, Navin. Like, what are the sample APIs we have, and I think you can go for this website link. Yeah. So here you will have multiple free APIs. You can test it on your Postman. Okay. So it will be having get APIs and get APIs with query parameters, URI parameters. If you want, you can stay after this class for 10 minutes. I will brief you like what we have discussed and sorry.
Okay, good.
Okay, I think Navin is not, but whoever has asked, right? This is the URL.
Nandu.
Okay, Nandu, sorry. I saw here N and I saw it is Navin. Okay.
That's okay,
Yeah.
Kirti.
And
Excavated
yeah, I
in
think
online. I got one more this URL also. You can use this also. Dummy REST API example.com. Guys, if you want, you can use this also.
nice. I think yeah, we can test it here. Yeah, there are many things. So open source, these are many open source APIs. You can get it from online. So I think this is very useful. Thank you, Bhimeshwar.
No problem.
Okay. And yesterday someone had problem with installing Anypoint Studio and they had some character space issue, something like that. Is it Rahul?
Yeah, it's working fine, Kirti, right now. It's fine. It's
Okay,
done.
great. Yeah, please try it out on your end. Whatever we have discussed from scratch, you can develop on your own.
Yeah,
If
sure.
there are
Thank
no
you.
doubts, we can wrap up for today.
Yeah, okay.
And Navin,
Sure.
I think you are
Thank you.
new to class. Please stay in the class. I will just give you some overview. Rest of you can drop out.
Okay, Kirti.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Kirti.
Nandu, my name is.
Sorry?
Devan
Thank you.
Nandu.
Nandu
Not
is
Naveen.
also okay. Nandu is new.
Already existing, right? But because yesterday power cut was there, in the class, I just left because of the internet
Sure.
issue.
Whoever wants an overview and let's just, like how any basic overview on whatever until we have discussed, I can give you an overview. Whoever wants,
Okay.
they can stick.
Okay, sure. I'll be
Okay,
online.
yeah. And I see who is it? Rakesh. Rakesh, are you also new to the class?
No.
Sure. If you want an overview, you can stay, please.
Yes, I want to see. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So basically, I will just give you an overview, okay? Like whatever until now what we have discussed. So this is MuleSoft. So I will just assume that there are some among while. Sorry, did anyone ask anything? I missed it.
Your voice is breaking, Kirti, from your side.
Okay.
Yeah, it's some getting some breakage. What you're saying.
I think my network is okay. Fine. Is this okay now?
Yes, now it's getting.
Okay.
Actually, bro, your voice is breaking from your end.
Yeah. I was able to observe that, but I don't know whether it is from my side or from other side. So that's why I'm also not sure. Okay, let me start. If you still see the problems, we can pause for a couple of minutes.
Okay, Kirti.
Yeah. So MuleSoft. So this is an integration tool. So what is an integration means? There will be some systems like there are multiple clients and multiple customers. Like suppose they are storing some data in one system, okay, like legacy systems, mainframes, or they are storing some data in Oracle. So they feel that that data is becoming very large and they don't want to maintain that data in that systems, let's say mainframes, okay. So because that is very absolute and it is very difficult to manage that huge amount of data, and it is very difficult to handle the data. So what they want is they want to migrate that entire data into another system, and not only migration, but they want to keep the data in another system as well. So how they are going to do, how they are transferring the one from one system to another system, how the data is flowing from one system to another system. So that in that bridge which is covering between the communication between multiple systems is called integration, okay. So that integration we are MuleSoft is providing. There are many multiple tools also which provide the same facility, but MuleSoft is becoming nowadays a very I mean it is very in demand because there are multiple reasons, okay. It can handle huge amount of data in very easily, and it provides API led connectivity. It is very easy to expose APIs in MuleSoft than compared to other what do you say, other tools. And recently it has been acquired by Salesforce. So I think everyone knows Salesforce is a large CRM company. So it is acquired by Salesforce, and Salesforce is recommending everyone. So whoever Salesforce is using, right? So the Salesforce is recommending everyone to use MuleSoft because it has become its partner, and the developing features and the error handling features and whatnot. So MuleSoft is becoming the number one trend in nowadays. In recent 2 years, it has become so much it boom in our market, and it's also having like whoever knows the MuleSoft, it is like they are getting high packages in the current software market. And coming to MuleSoft, so there are in previous classes I have explained like what are the integrations, what are the type of integrations, like point-to-point integrations, API-led connectivity. So I will just give you some overview. Like point-to-point integrations means there's a suppose there is a system A here and there is a system B here. So how to do, so if at all there is some integration, like so if you give one, so if you are developing only one MuleSoft application here, and that will handle the integration between system A and system B, okay, that is called as monolithic application or point-to-point application. So if you are building only one MuleSoft application here, okay, let's say MuleSoft 1, and suppose if you are having in future, let's say there is system C, okay, and now it will have system D. What you will do in that case? You will go and modify this integration. So if you if at all there are, let's say if at all there are 5 integrations coming new, so entire thing, if at all it stays in one single application, it is called as monolithic application. So what are the disadvantages and advantages here? Advantages is it is easy to maintain. Let's say like if there are any changes here, you will just go and deploy only one single project. But what are the main disadvantages here? Suppose let's say there is an integration between A and B. In future there comes C and D. Even though there is no change in this one, in this integration A and B, but still you have to deploy the entire application. Okay, there is an addition of integration here, but still you have to deploy this integration in Cloud Hub. I mean, whenever you are doing some changes, what are the minimum responsibilities of a software developer? You have to test it again, even though you did not do any changes here. You have to do unit testing, you have to regression testing. It has to go to it has to go through all the phases. So to avoid this one, what MuleSoft is offering is, Mule ESB is offering is, it is offering API-led connectivity. So what is API-led connectivity means? It basically we are exposing each integration as an API. So what are APIs means? Here I have shown you this is one REST API. So there are two types of APIs mostly used, like SOAP API and REST API. So this is the REST API. I have explained you here, right? There are multiple methods, get, post method, patch method. How are these used? And what are the URL components I have explained, and what are the different data types we can send. We can send multiple data types. So basically the main definition of API, or API is also known as web service. What is the main definition is? It establishes the communication between multiple systems. So basically what we are doing here, if you see what we have developed here, until now we did not give any request body, but what are we doing here? We are sending some data, some some communication. We are establishing connection between this by using a URL. So if you are sending it, it is going to our MuleSoft, it is doing some modification of data, it is doing some operations, and it is giving us some response. So it using request and response, it is establishing a communication and it is performing operations on the data. So this is known as web service. So there are two types of web service, REST API and SOAP API. So this is REST API we have discussed, right? So there is a SOAP API also. So for that, for details, like there is a detailed explanation of SOAP API in yesterday's class. If you can get the hang of the recordings and you can see it in your free time, it will be very good. But anyhow, while developing REST SOAP APIs, I will be explaining it again in briefly. So no need to worry about now. 90% as a MuleSoft developer, I can say we'll be using only REST APIs. We will be exposing only REST APIs. While we can consume SOAP APIs in that way also. I can explain what are SOAP APIs and all. And like we also have API-led connectivity. So yesterday's session was entirely on that. What is API-led connectivity? What are system APIs, process APIs, and all. I will just give you some overview. Like 1 second. I'll give you some overview. So basically, MuleSoft gives us API-led connectivity. So this is an approach. Okay, this is an architecture which we use in MuleSoft. So it has 3 types: system APIs, process APIs, experience APIs. So no need to worry in detail like what are these and all, because we are still in the very beginning stage, and no need to worry what are these and how to implement all these, because once we understand how MuleSoft works and how the basic things like how to connect it to different systems and how it works, after completion of 50% syllabus, we will be covering, we can develop our projects in this way, system APIs and process APIs. So for this one, I'll just give you some overview, like what are system APIs means. Let's say your client has asked you to integrate multiple systems. Let's say I have a source, I have a target, okay? And there are source systems like database and Salesforce. And the target system is, let's say, NetSuite and Oracle. Okay, so these are what we call in our integration terminology is endpoints. Okay, endpoints. What are endpoints means? It can be both source and target systems. So now what are our endpoints? There are 4 endpoints: database, Salesforce, NetSuite, and Oracle. So all this connectivity, all the connectivity and the operations are performed on this one will be covered in system APIs. So we will develop a MuleSoft project. Project means application. We will develop a MuleSoft application which deals only with endpoints is known as system API. And whenever the system API is exposed, process API will consume the system API and also perform data manipulations and enrichments and transformations and all whatnot, all the business rules. Okay, so let's say client wants to do some business rules. If at all it happens, this one conditions, if and else conditions. So business will have multiple requirements. All the requirements, all the data manipulations, all the enrichments, everything is done in process API. So this will be a Mule application. So we'll have one MuleSoft application which deals with only endpoints. There are other application MuleSoft application which deals with system API, and means it will consume the system API and do and perform all the transformations. And what is experience API? This consumes both system API and process API and just exposes one API. So simply like this, we have exposed one API, right? It will simply expose an API to client. So client will not understand what is system API and process API. He will never know how many applications are there and all. He will simply say, give me one API to send the data and get the data. So for that, we will be exposing this API. So this API is exposed. So this is exposed to client. Okay, so this is called this approach of developing integrations in 3 different layers. So for suppose let's say I have to build this integration between the systems. For these integrations we have to build 3 MuleSoft applications. So in this way you'll have 3 applications. This is one let's say this is a system API, this is process API. So I'll have 3 MuleSoft applications which have to be deployed on Anypoint Platform or Cloud Hub. Okay, so this is a different topic. Like this all comes under understanding of MuleSoft and architecture we follow. What are the approach and strategy we follow. So this we can just brief it about in later sessions also. But as of now, so from today onwards, we have started developing the first flows and all. So no need to worry about it. If you have time and if you have access to the previous recordings, please go through the videos if you have time, and it will be very useful to understand the basics. Basics are very important. Okay. Until now, I think you will be having some questions like this. This is very fastly. I have covered what we have covered from past 5 days. So it is better if you go through the video recording once. And even if you are, if it is better if you are not not have any time for that, it is okay, because in later classes while developing, I will be just giving overview whenever this concepts come. Okay, any
Okay,
question?
No,
Okay.
Kirti.
Naveen and I think Karthik. Yeah. Do you both have any questions?
No, nothing from my side.
Okay. So basically for MuleSoft integration, you have to simply keep in mind that we are integrating multiple systems. So the terminology you use is what is source and what is target. That we need to understand. If you understand these two terminology, it will be very easy for us. Let's say in our API, what is source and what is target? There are nothing. So we are just simply getting the data. So if you can say this is our API, until now we did not integrate anything. We are just going through our process, how the MuleSoft work, what are the functionalities that happen. If I say I'm getting data from database and pushing the data to Salesforce, then we can say what is source and what is target. Okay, while client projects, right, you have to simply whenever a project comes to you, you have to simply ask one question: what is source, what is target, how many endpoints are there, how many source systems are there, how many target systems are there, what we have to integrate. This is the main thing you have to understand in integration.
Okay, Kirti.
Okay. Yeah, if everyone is clear, we can wrap this session up and we can continue from tomorrow.
Yeah, Kirti, clear.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Kirti. Have a good day.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good day too.